Well, not quite that, but let's see what we can do. All right. So there's another verse. This is from. I don't know. Nothing that starts remains unchanged. Have no attachment, cut the ties. There's no happiness in this vicious circle. Get tired of it. Find renunciation. The world is hollow and meaningless. Do not trust the lie. Your own mind is the Buddha. Go and meet your friend. So a lot of these Lojong verses, you see, become poetic and mystical as we start to read through them, right? And so you have to get into the commentary. Your own mind is the Buddha refers to your Buddha nature, which is the emptiness of your mind, right? So we experience our mind as this strange, turbulent mix of happiness and sadness, up and down, right? If we collected the necessary karma, we could be perceiving our mind right now as that of a beautiful, enlightened being. If we had caused that, right? The emptiness of our mind is our potential to become a Buddha, right? And so if we understand that, we keep our ethics perfectly, and we'd be forced to see ourselves as a Buddha as a result, right? So that's what the verse is alluding to. Next verse, nothing but the Dharma has any meaning at all. Throw the rest out like trash. It all boils down to dying. Pack light and take off now. So this is apply the test of death to every action we undertake, is what they're saying, right? A person who's practicing Lojong has to ask whether everything they're doing every hour, every moment is worth it, right? If not, don't do it. And the barometer, it's the barometer of whether we're spending our life well, right? Is to ask, if I'm going to die this hour, would I want to be doing this, right? So spending life purely in Dharma activity every minute is the smartest thing we can do, right? Do we want to die doing what we're doing right now? And that doesn't mean quit everything and go follow some teacher around and say, Lama, Lama, tell me what to do, or all I want to do is be a groupie, right? You can go and meditate for 3 years, and when you're done meditating, you're still living your life day to day. While you're meditating, you're living your life day to day, right? What are the thoughts you're thinking, moment to moment? What are the activities you're engaging in day to day, moment to moment, right? That's the point of Lojong. The point of Lojong is what am I doing every moment of every day? How am I thinking every moment of every day? How am I relating to those around me every moment of every day? And so when they say nothing but the Dharma has any meaning at all, throw the rest out like trash, they're not saying quit your job and go sit and look at the wall and meditate every day all day, right? It's your thoughts, your priorities, your motives, right? Your goals. All those ordinary thoughts and motives and goals, throw those out like trash, right? Go to work with the motive of helping everyone there, right? Have your relationship with the motive of being of service as a Lojong practitioner, right? It all boils down to dying. Why? Because we want to be enlightened and we don't want to suffer. We want to collect the causes for a good rebirth or enlightenment, and hope preferably enlightenment. So, I'm practicing to collect all of the karmic causes necessary to have a better rebirth or to achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible, right? So it all boils down to dying because that's my drop dead date. Right? Okay, let's see. All right, next verse. The reality of things is beyond the mind. So reside in a state where you hold to nothing. That sounds kind of easy. I can reside in a state where I hold on to nothing. Just kind of walk around and go, wow, the clouds are pretty, It's kind of chilling and mellow. Cafe, look out the window and don't think about much, right? Doesn't sound too bad. Could do that. Not what they're saying. And you can't teach new students this kind of thing. You can't teach people who are not well educated this kind of thing because it just messes people up, right? So if you haven't studied logic and emptiness and teachings deeply for years, you shouldn't give or receive this kind of teaching. So they're talking about if you haven't seen ultimate reality directly, right? The reality of things is beyond the mind, right? It doesn't mean that your everyday life is not real, right? They're not saying, when he says the reality of things is beyond the mind, he's not saying that your mind can't comprehend reality around you. No, they're talking about ultimate reality, right? Ultimate reality is beyond the conceptual mind. The conceptual mind is not helpful, useful, relevant to experience ultimate reality, right? So that's what they're speaking to here, right? Ultimate reality is beyond the mind. It's beyond the normal, ordinary conceptual mind, okay? So reside in a state where you hold on to nothing, right? Okay? Your body and mind are blank. They're empty. You can make them anything you want to if you keep your vows, learn proper Buddhism, meditate, reach a Buddha paradise, right? So if you do that and don't grasp the things as self-existent, then you'll succeed. It doesn't mean go space out in a corner somewhere. Okay? So Geshe Chikawa, which was about 1,000 years ago, 900 years ago, started teaching Lojong publicly. So prior to Geshe Chikawa, Lojong had been a private, closely held lineage. And so he began teaching it publicly. The idea of spending your whole life and every minute of your day and every thought and every resource you have concentrating on other people, helping them get what they want, was too radical for public consumption, right? As a broad, generic teaching. So people wouldn't respect the teachings, they wouldn't expect the Dharma, and so it was not taught publicly. So Lojong teaches that everything you do during the day, from the time you wake up until the time you fall asleep, is motivated by helping other people and serving other people, right? And giving other people without thinking about what they can give you or what you can get out of it was considered to be too profound to teach publicly, right? So Geshe Chikawa felt that there might be people who were ready for the teachings, and so he decided to teach it publicly for the first time. And then it broke out into public, and it came down the lineage through Ngulchu Dhamma Bhadra to Prabhupada Rinpoche to Trijang Rinpoche to Ken Rinpoche to Geshe Michael Tosh. So although it is public now, it's important to only pass these on with correct explanations if you're going to be teachers, to make sure that any time you do mystical sounding Lojong verses, that you give a proper explanation of what they mean so that people don't get into the wrong views and corrupt practices and strange things that they engage in, right? All right. So when we talk about Lojong, there are a lot of different parts to it, and I'm skipping through a lot of it. I encourage you to go back to the reading and read the verses because they're very beautiful. There's a 7-step Lojong practice. There are preliminaries that one engages in before Lojong practice. Then there's the actual Lojong practice, and then different types of Lojong practice, right? So all of a lifetime of Lojong practice can be summarized by what are called 5 powers. And so this is another way of summarizing all the different Lojong texts and trying to pull them together. So the 5 powers refer to 5 practices you do throughout your day, every day and every hour of your life. Okay? So, and they're saying that, if you do these 5 things throughout your day, every day, from moment to moment, hour to hour, and throughout your life, then, you are practicing the essence of Lojong, many different Lojongs, right? So the first is called projecting power, and it means making a resolution for the future, projecting what your day is going to look like, right? You wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, you think, this is what I'm going to do with the day, this is what my day is going to look like, this is the point of my day, this is the purpose of the day, this is my motivation for the day, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes I wake up and I go like, what's the point? God, why should I get out of bed? Am I just going to go to work and do all the same old mundane stuff? Am I just going to have the same old routine with the family? Am I going to have the same old routine with my Saturday off? My Sunday? What's the point? It's the same old, right? I mean, it's sort of a fundamental question for someone who's aware, introspective, on a spiritual path. Like, what the hell am I doing with my life, and why am I doing the things that I'm doing, right? And Lojong addresses that. It's very beautiful in that it addresses that. It says, look, the reason you're alive, the reason you're here, the reason you're getting out of bed is to serve other people all day long. Period. That's why you exist. That's how you'll get to paradise, and that's what you should do with your day. It doesn't matter doesn't matter if you go to the cafe. It doesn't matter if you go to the gym. It doesn't matter if you go to work. It doesn't matter if you go meditate for 3 hours. It doesn't matter if you follow a lama around all day long saying, lama, lama, lama. Doesn't matter. if you're doing Lojong, right? It's all much about muchness, more or less, if you're doing Lojong all day, right? The point is to be doing Lojong all day. And what does it mean to be doing Lojong?
You're practicing ethical behavior over and over and over again.
Yeah, thinking everybody around me is suffering. Everybody around me is going through all kinds of suffering. They're aging, heading towards death, just like me. I need to help them. I need to help alleviate their suffering. I need to help put an end to their suffering. I need to help them have happiness. I need to help their lives be joyous in whatever way I can. I need to have some positive impact, some positive contribution. Like, is going to Kmart and checking out in the checkout line and smiling at the cashier Lojong? Hell yeah. If you're thinking, you're paying attention, that is Lojong practice, right? You're thinking this person is probably having a lousy day. She's on her feet all day long, with grumpy people, giving her dirty money, and basically ignoring her, Maybe I can have a little ray of sunshine in her day here for a moment, in a brief interaction.
Say something kind, I like your nails.
Anything, yeah. So read her name tag. Hi, Joyce, nice to see you. That's Lojong, right? With the idea, with the understanding of ethics and karma and emptiness, your bodhisattva motivation, right? Every moment of every day has meaning. Every day when you get out of bed has meaning, regardless of what you do, right? So that's what they're talking about here in this first one, the projecting power, making a resolution, right? When you wake up in the morning, decide that the rest of the day you're going to use the day well. Determined to overcome the mistake of looking out for myself all day. It's like when I get out of bed, I normally just think about what am I going to do with myself all day long. And it's like me this, me that, me the other. Do I feel like going for a bike ride? Do I feel like making breakfast? Blah, 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 blah. Right? All day long, right? All the problems of life, getting older, losing friends, relations, failure of every spiritual practice. Every problem can be reversed, according to Buddhism, by serving others and treating them well. Period. Right? Just concentrate on what they like. And give up your whole life to help others. That's Lojong. Right? And it sounds crazy in an ordinary world. And that's what it is to be a crazy yogi. Being a crazy yogi does not mean you get dreadlocks and you don't take a bath and you wear a skirt, or whatever, And then you say crazy things that no one understands and which probably serve absolutely no purpose, right? Being a crazy yogi means that you actually are not living according to the world. You're living according to Lojong and your understanding of karma and emptiness and ethics, right? That's what a crazy yogi does. They said, I'm very happy that everybody else got the best seats in the theater, It's okay. May they enjoy the movie, etc. All right. So, and as the years go by, your life will get better, and you'll feel healthier, and you'll feel happier, and you'll enter, a sacred holy realm, because you have purified yourself. Right? Very difficult as long as we have self-existent view, and as long as we engage in ordinary behavior, we're going to suffer. And the enemy is tending to cherish ourselves, right? Thinking of ourselves first. So when you wake up in the morning, think about how can I destroy this enemy that I have of self-cherishing, right? How can I get rid of this enemy which has only caused me suffering and misery my entire life? This enemy of only thinking of myself and thinking of myself first and always putting myself in front of other people and thinking, going every moment of every day thinking I, me, instead of them. Okay, second power is getting used to cherishing others first. So it's the thought that you woke up with, right? It's doing it throughout the day, right? And so there's a Kadampa trick, which is every time you change positions, every time you go from sitting to standing, or from sitting to lying, or you start walking, or you stop walking, to remind yourself, right, of that thought, right?
That thought to serve others?
To fight your main enemy, to think, I'm not here today to serve myself, Today is not about thinking about me all day and what I want all day. Today is about everyone I run into, and how I can serve them, and how I can help them, and how I can, help them have happiness and have a good life, right? And so it's training yourself and getting used to cherishing others first. Cherishing is a good word. How can I care about the other person? It's just caring about the other people, right? It's like, I don't give a shit about anybody around me on the street when I walk down the street. I'm not thinking about them. They're irrelevant, Certainly not cherishing them. Like, how can I train myself to actually give a flying, F about the people I'm walking by? That's all, right? And the people on the subway with me, the people upstairs and downstairs. Okay. Third one is the force of pure white seeds, and it's collecting good karma, right? We have to find out what the most powerful white karmas, good karmic seeds are that we can collect in this life, right? We don't have time to fool around with piddly small good deeds and collect wimpy virtuous karmas, right? We need to collect powerful virtuous karmas which are going to ripen fast and ripen big, okay? And the most powerful good karma is to serve a spiritual teacher, to especially assist them with Dharma teachings and to get these ideas into other people's minds, right? I mean, you can feed someone, you can clothe someone, you can shelter someone, you can have a nice conversation and help them feel good, but it doesn't address the root cause of their suffering, right? Understanding ethics and karma and emptiness does address the root cause of their suffering, and so if you can help get an understanding of ethics, karma, and emptiness into people's minds, that's the most powerful thing that you can do. So the next of the powers is to rip it out from the heart, and that means whenever a thought comes to you, to get only what you want, to destroy that thought immediately, and to do that throughout the day. Every time the thought arises that says, I'm hungry, I want lunch, to then rip that thought out and think, okay, who can I help now at lunchtime? I'll have something to eat. Who else can I, offer something to and make sure that they feel happy and they have a bite to eat? Whatever your personal training is, right? Every time it comes up, every time the thought of all I'm doing is thinking about myself comes up, rip it out and replace it with thinking about others, right? In some way. Okay. And then the fifth one is the power of prayer, which is at night when you're going to sleep, just before you go to sleep, you close your eyes and review the day's efforts in helping others joyfully and in helping to get them the things that they want, right? So it's a very powerful to simply review your goodness at the end of the day, right? And to just reflect upon it and spend some time thinking about what you actually did that day and to feel happy about it, right? That in and of itself creates a very powerful habit and burns a very powerful groove, into your way of being. And it kind of supercharges the karma to help it ripen faster, in fact, as well. And so to make a prayer to get real bodhicitta, to attain ultimate bodhicitta, which ultimate bodhicitta is the direct perception of emptiness. Why? What do you guess? Why is the direct perception of emptiness ultimate bodhicitta?
Because you're doing it for all people.
Because you're omniscient.
You're
omniscient?
Well, you're not omniscient when you see emptiness the first time, right? You're an Arya, but you're omniscient when you're fully enlightened as a Buddha. Because that's the third path, the path of seeing, and you still have to re-habituate.
Can't you not see the direct perception of emptiness if you're not on the path of being a bodhisattva?
No, Hinayana perceive emptiness and attain nirvana. They don't have bodhisattva motivation.
Say the question again?
G had asked if you could see emptiness if you're not on a bodhisattva track.
Oh, no, your question.
Oh, I forgot my question.
Why is seeing emptiness the ultimate form of bodhicitta?
Oh, yeah. Why do you think direct perception of ultimate reality is ultimate bodhicitta?
Because then you understand that you have to.
Then you know the truth of it.
Put all values recorded.
You know the fact of the matter, right?
Yeah.
You have
no
a direct
question.
You have a direct experiential realization. You see directly, and you know for a fact, 100%, the reality of the situation. It's no longer John's sitting up there telling me this, and maybe it's true, and maybe it's not, and I understand, but you know what? I'm not sure. All that's done. All that's gone, right? You see the nature of reality. You experience the nature of ultimate reality directly, right? The experience of the ultimate nature of reality confirms for you that nothing has any nature of its own. Nothing is coming at you from its own side externally, right? And that everything you experience in is a projection of your past karma ripening, right? And therefore, based upon knowing that for sure, you treat people with real loving kindness. Because it's like, why would I possibly have a bad attitude towards someone else? Why would I possibly treat someone else badly when I know for a fact that they don't really exist out there from their own side? That they are in fact an expression of being. Why would I treat myself badly? And why would I create a bad future for myself? You know?
So people who have the direct perception of emptiness, do they, at that point, once you've reached that point, do you then live as a bodhisattva? I mean, do you have true bodhi? I mean, you're not trying to obtain being a bodhisattva. You actually have become one. I mean, does that revert back?
Yeah.
I mean, does that?
Yeah. So there are different sort of flow charts, if you will, or tracks. But the general idea is this. Let's say you have bodhisattva vows, right? And you understand about bodhicitta and all of these ideas, and you experience emptiness directly, right? So there is a realization of bodhicitta, which Holy Geshe Michael describes as like crystal light flowing out of your chest and seeing the face of every living being in existence simultaneously, and various things. So, not having had the experience, I can't speak to it myself. But I would presume that if one is well steeped in bodhicitta and the teachings, that they would come pretty close on, if not together. But I can't really say for sure. So. I would say, from my perspective and my interpretation, even if one doesn't have, and I don't know how it plays out in that moment, but I would speculate that even if one doesn't experience the realization of bodhicitta at the same sitting where they experience ultimate reality directly for the first time, that they would experience it
But you can
along the way, if you will.
But it seems like a bodhisattvic activity comes from the motivation of great compassion,
Yeah.
And isn't it possible to, or is it possible to have the direct perception of emptiness, but not have that sense of deep compassion post that experience, or even leading up to that experience?
So think of the Hinayana track of Buddhism, right? So Hinayana practitioners are not practicing the six perfections.
Right.
They're not thinking bodhicitta and all the rest.
Right.
So they're thinking, stop mental afflictions, experience emptiness, and attain nirvana themselves, right?
For oneself, right?
Yeah. So let's say they are engaged in that track and that spiritual practice, and they experience emptiness, right? No bodhicitta, right? So somewhere along the way, there's emptiness plus bodhicitta. So when you talk about the bodhisattva levels and paths, there are 10 bodhisattva bhumis or 10 bodhisattva levels.
I see.
Okay. The first bodhisattva bhumi, it's like the sort of the ladder to enlightenment as a bodhisattva, if you will.
Right.
You could say, the way to think of it is the bodhisattva ladder to enlightenment has 10 steps. They're called bodhisattva levels or bodhisattva bhumis. So the first bodhisattva bhumi is seeing emptiness with bodhicitta. Is emptiness and bodhicitta.
In both, whether it's
Having
like
both.
Hinayana or Mahayana, it doesn't.
Well, if you're Hinayana, you wouldn't.
You don't even get that far.
You're not going that way. You're on a different flowchart.
Got it.
You see, now there's a thing where they say anyone who attains nirvana, they eventually sort of bump over into the other track, and then attain bodhicitta and keep going to full enlightenment. It's not really what we're talking about. So somewhere along the way, one could be Hinayana practitioner or Mahayana practitioner, have a direct experience of emptiness, full stop, right? In that case, they haven't reached the first bodhisattva bhumi, first bodhisattva level. Once they have the realization of bodhicitta in their heart with emptiness, then they're on the first bodhisattva level, and then sort of continue progressing with the realizations.
So there's kind of like before that, you can actually just see the direct perception of emptiness without being on that.
Well, and yes, because the Hinayana people do
Right,
that.
right.
Now, I'm not, what I can't speak to is if you're a Mahayana practitioner, Bodhisattva vows, deeply steeped in Bodhicitta teachings, etc.
Right.
I really can't speak to the fact as to what triggers the Bodhisattva realization and when.
I see.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, is it like certain teachings lead to that, or, you know, so I mean, you can think of it in terms of somewhere along the way, you get one, you get the other, you get both together, and then you're on the first Bodhisattva bhumi. But I can't speak to the timing and the sequencing and what triggers the one versus the other.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So then the last of those powers is to make a prayer to get bodhicitta when you're going to sleep. And the ultimate kind of bodhicitta is a direct perception of emptiness, and to pray to reach that goal. And after you do experience emptiness, then you become fearless because you know for a fact how things work. You know for a fact.
I can't wait for fearlessness.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you see your future lives. You know you reach enlightenment. You see your future enlightenment. You know when it occurs, right?
What was the fourth one in between the power of the pure white seeds and the prayer for bodhicitta?
You rip it out from the heart.
Rip it out from the heart.
You know, anytime that thinking only of oneself comes up, to just rip it out and to replace it with thinking of others. Right? And so they're saying, you know, do these 5 powers every day and don't let anyone know that you're doing them. Right? And that's the Lojong practice. So then Geshe Chakawa, as he was dying, he taught many of these things. He blurts out that I was praying I could pass to the lowest hell realm for the sake of every living being, but it's not working. I can't go. All I can see before me now is the paradise of enlightenment. So, you know, as a profound Lojong practitioner, even during his death, he was praying and practicing and aspiring to go to the lower realms to help beings there, and obviously he hadn't collected the karma, and he was headed for paradise, right? So, you know, the point at which you developed a good heart, you can say you finished developing a good heart when all the Dharma that was ever spoken boils down to one thing, which is fighting the tendency to take care of yourself and ignore other people, right? And that's the essence of the Dharma, is fighting the tendency to take care of yourself and instead taking care of other people, right? And they say there are 2 judges, and to keep the main one. Generally speaking, you'll be getting along better and better with your family and friends if you're practicing well. And when they talk about the main judge, they're talking about you. You're the only one who can judge your practice, and don't let other people direct your practice. Don't let other people say you're practicing well or you're not, right? You know in your mind, in your heart, in your life, if it's becoming sweeter and you're feeling more love inside yourself for other people, right? I mean, that's the goal, right? If you're doing these Lojong practices, you're going to be feeling more loving in your heart for other people, right? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You have a more loving heart, a sweeter heart. And so the commentary says the main judge of whether something is Dharma or not is whether or not it's helping fix mental afflictions. So, no, I mean, anything that's helping you fix your mental afflictions is Dharma. You know, that's what the commentary says, right? Anything which is reducing your mental afflictions is Dharma, right? And then it says, be joy alone in an unbroken stream. And, you know, if things are going well, don't get too happy. If things are going badly, don't get too sad. Karma doesn't ripen immediately. Everything that's happening now is being driven by karmas that you collected in the past, right? What's happening now isn't connected to your spiritual practice today. So, you know, we've got deep karmic pockets. They'll ripen. Just keep planting seeds. Keep setting up your future, right? And it's especially hard with people who are close to us. So keep it in mind. And it says, it's there when you can... So then this is the other verse that I alluded to. It says, it's there when you can keep it unthinking. Lojong practice boils down to reaction time. The time between when you first get annoyed and when you stop your negative reaction, right? That's what we talked about last week. The reaction time should be getting shorter and shorter, right? To catch yourself. And it only happens with consistent practice, right? You notice that you're getting irritated, you stop yourself, you interject, intercede, redirect. Don't express negativity, express virtue, right? And as you practice Lojong mind training, you know, instead of catching yourself after you're done yelling, you catch yourself when you start yelling, and then you catch yourself before you yell, and then you catch yourself when you're having an angry thought, and et cetera, as we talked about last week, right? So there are certain advices for developing a good heart. It says, figure out both and free yourself. Do the most important thing, act now. which is to crush your tendency to watch out for yourself. And figure out, it says figure out both and free yourself. Figure out what it is that gets you upset. What's gotten you upset in the past? What's the thing that gets you most upset? If you look back at your life, historically, and you think, what pisses me off the most? You know, what disrupts me the most? What disturbs my mind the most? Figure it out, right? Figure out what your strongest mental affliction is, right? And figure out under what conditions it's triggered and what leads to it happening, right? Is it when you're tired? Is it when you're what? You know, you haven't eaten, whatever. And then figure out how to stop those mental afflictions in the future, right? And then work on that, right? Just don't expect any thanks, and it refers to 4 things. If you do spiritual practice, no one will thank you or appreciate your efforts, right? Don't expect help from others. Don't expect anyone to say anything nice to you, not even your lama. And don't wish for any fame or good reputation. Just help others quietly and privately, right? And people get caught up in this all the time. They're like, but the lama doesn't treat me nicely, he doesn't speak to me sweetly, you know? That's not the point. You know? I mean, you know, there's the honeymoon phase and a romance phase, you know, where you kind of dance around and it's very nice and it's quite lovely. And then their job is simply to knock out your mental afflictions, you know, and help you kill your mental afflictions, you know. And that means generally rubbing your nose in them so that you can see them and face them and deal with them, you know. And it's not pleasant, and it's not. Their job is not to be your pal, not to be your best friend, and not to, you know, help you pretend that everything is fine, everything is lovely, and everything's cool and groovy, you know. Their job is to put you in your shit so that you deal with it and you get over it. So, sorry to say, it says, then, you know, change your mind and stay the same. What do you think that's referring to?
But change your mental, like what's going on inside you. You don't necessarily have to start trusting people.
Don't what? Yeah. Don't, you know, the spiritual path is about your inner life, right? Spiritual practice is about your inner state. It's about your heart and your mind, right? If you're manifesting your spirituality externally, right? Got the wrong motivation going on, do you? Right? So, you know, one of the, you know, important Lojong points is change your mind and stay the same. As in change internally, not externally. You know, just be a normal old person in the outer world. Don't go around pretending you're doing some spiritual trip or putting on any, you know, showy appearances. You know, just be normal. And internally, be pure and holy. You know? That's all. We'll stop there. Many beautiful verses, right? So please go and read them and take the time. We'll continue with the second half next week.
Sashi Buki Jushin Meto Tran Rira Mingshin Inde Kadi Sangye Shindu Minte Ruargi Jokun Namdak Shimla Chuparsho Idam Guru Rakandana Vakiri Kayami Gewadi Gewoku Tsunami Shake Suksokshi Tsunami Shake Sunjunwe Danga Kuni Topansho.
By the power of these teachings and our holy intention, may we quickly come to develop true bodhicitta and experience ultimate reality. May we live every day to serve every living being we encounter continuously from morning till night. Thank you. You know, it's actually very, you see, especially in tantric context, you see people who have, you know, I mean, I remember I went to probably early 1990s, I was at a tantric initiation in California with Geshe Seppel, and there was somebody beside me, and she had a dorje that was about this big, and she had a drum that was about this big, and she had a big rosary about this big, and she was a nun, and she had the spots burned into her head from the incense, and and she was ringing that bell, and she was doing that drum and chanting really loudly, and that's fine. And I'm not criticizing, but generally speaking, outer supports are for people who need them. Typically, the more stable a person is spiritually and the more profound their practice is, the more internal it is. And so even in tantric practice and in tantric rituals and in tantric initiations, the higher the capacity of the student is, the less outer ritual and support and context there is. So the highest students and capacity practitioners have really not much need for what you would normally see as the ritual instrumentation and the ritual activities and outer supports. Those outer supports are to help the mind to function in a certain way and to get into certain ways of thinking and being, right? So, and that's true of spiritual practice in general. And that's what the Lojong text was speaking to here at the end, is to say, it's internal, it's not external, right? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to say be suspect of people who are big outer practitioners. Just be aware, that those outer elements and outer supports are that, or just that. They are for people who need outer support and outer help. It's not a sign, and it's not an indication of some profound, deep spiritual practitioner necessarily. And often people get confused on the outer, inner stuff.
Could be style too.
Could just like the style, that's right.
Style in there spiritually.
It could just be grooving on the style and the look. That's true. It could be a fashion thing. So it brings us back to the same point.